David Settle here at Wyopreps.com and our fan voted Wyopreps.com game of the week for small schools takes us to Class 1A 9-man. We've got a top five matchup with the third-ranked Southeast Cyclones going on the road to fifth-ranked Lusk to take on the Tigers on Friday. Kind enough to join me is the new coach of the Southeast Cyclones, Shawn Burkart. And Coach, thanks so much for taking a few minutes. First of all, I guess describe the start to your season from your perspective with the Cyclones. What have you seen out of your group?
Boy, it's been nice to have an experienced group coming back this year for sure. I thank Coach Billington every day for not leaving the cupboard empty when he retired this past year. So, experienced group coming back, certainly high expectations with that. Kids have done well. I challenged them this past week. I said, I don't think we still have put a complete game together, so to speak. We have our moments in the game. Things just aren't clicking right, or we're just not doing little things right, and it shows. So I challenged them that week, but yeah, overall things have been going well. Started out with Big Piney, not sure what to expect in that game. I think for the most part, we pretty much controlled the game up and down the field. Right, they presented some challenges for us, like to throw a deep ball. Kids responded well with that. Win Wiver, you watching them on film the first couple of weeks. They had a lot of turnovers, kind of self-inflicted a lot of pain on their own, on their own offense. And I kind of joked around with Coach Gray the other day. I said, "You watch, they won't have any turnovers against us." And they only had one, and they controlled the clock a lot. They just went to a Maryland eye. And really, geez, I looked up that first drive. They took the opening kickoff, looked up, and there was like 4 minutes left to go in the first quarter when they scored. So they controlled it. They did a nice job controlling the clock on us that game. But offensively, we scored on every time we had the ball. The only time we didn't was when we took the kneel down to end the game. So offensively, I think we're really starting to click. We've got a lot of weapons. You might see one kid have big stats one game, and then in the next week it's going to be somebody else. And that's the nice thing about, I think, when you play us, you can't really focus on one person. Of course, it starts with Dez, our quarterback, senior quarterback, All-State. He makes a lot of things happen. Even when the play breaks down, he's got the ability to scramble and make big plays as well. So, of course, everything kind of starts through him and runs through him. But we do have a lot of weapons offensively that I like. Defensively, this year is kind of first for me. I've been running the defense for the past 25 years under Coach Billington. I kind of wanted to have somebody else take that role and kind of be the CEO, so to speak, this year and have a little different role myself. So Coach Koski, coming from Nebraska, hadn't coached any 9-man football before. I think just little adjustments here and there. I think he's starting to find his groove now as well. We made some adjustments in that One River game that worked out really well that he did there right for halftime. So yeah, things are starting to click. Obviously a big one with Lusk, big rival. I always tell the kids, you kind of throw out the records and the scores and don't compare scores, blah, blah, blah. It's tough going up there. They always play a little better at home for some, I always tell them they're 2 touchdown better at home than they are on the road. So we got to be ready to rock and roll up there when we go up Friday night. But I think the kids are ready to go. And for the most part, we're healthy. We had a little ding here and there Friday, Monday in practice, but I think the kids are excited and ready to go. So yeah, really, really proud of the kids. I just challenge them to try to put a complete game together this week. So,
Well, certainly you talked about Aiden Desmond, and how nice is it to have a guy that's played a couple years, one, run your offense, but two, kind of also be that quarterback on defense for you a little bit. I know he leads you on defensive points, and I know you got some other guys that can make plays, but how much of a benefit has it to have him kind of quarterback both sides for you a little bit?
oh, it's a great advantage. I mean, he's just smart and he's a student of the game as well. So that's a big thing right there. I mean, often he sees things the same time you're seeing it, and goes, "Hey, we're both on the, what if we do this, or what can I do this?" Or it's just great. He's a quarterback on the defensive side as well. He plays safety for us. He's got great range. Teams try to pass. We try to make him more or less just a free safety. You roam the field type thing, and he does a great job of room in the field. Right, did have 3 picks. One got called back, but yeah, he's just a great leadership on both sides of the ball. Just such a great kid to coach, and he excels in basketball and he's quite the baseball player too. I know that's what he's wanted to do in college, but just a great kid to have there, and obviously with the experience he's had, so it's been nice. Yes.
You talked a little bit about Lusk being better at home. What do you see out of Coach Skeen's bunch when you watch a little film and kind of get ready for them?
Boy, I kind of joked with Coach Boynton last year. They kind of got away with their basically a power I type offense, and it started spreading it out. And I looked, Coach Boynton often joked, just like, well, we think we'd never see the day where that would happen. You'd see Lusk throwing the ball over the place. So I had to see it in person to believe it, I think. So yeah, they certainly got a good quarterback coming back as well. And then they've got a couple of nice receivers. They throw the ball. It throws a lot of deep balls. So we need to be ready for that. But every week seems like there's a new challenge with the offenses we're facing on the defensive side of the ball. And I expect them to try to go to the air. Looks like the weather's going to be good, so I don't think that's going to be a factor one way or the other. So it should be a nice game with some two good offenses get together, and we'll see what happens. So,
Yeah, I was going to say it shapes up to be a great matchup. Coach, thanks so much for the time. That's all I needed from you, and wish you best of luck in Lusk against the Tigers Friday night.
all right, thanks a lot, David.
And the fifth-ranked Lusk Tigers hosting the third-ranked Southeast Cyclones this week. A big battle in the 1A 9-man East, and pleased to be joined again by the head coach of the Tigers, Chris Skeen. Chris, thanks so much for a few minutes. Last time we did this, you guys had a rough one. I will say it was against a pretty good Lingle team. You've got another pretty good team coming in. I guess take me back to 2 weeks ago and then even a hard-fought game last week. You guys have had two different types of games. What have you learned about your team in those?
Well, I think one of the big things is, and this is what we've been working on, not just this year, but for the last few years, and that's the resiliency of the kids. Um, there's been times before where, things get rough and we throw in the towel. And it's not just us. You see this all over the place, right? So one of the things and one of the qualities that we really try to instill with our team, and one of the focuses has been resiliency. No matter how rough it gets, no matter how tough it is, keep fighting, fight all the way to the end of the game. And that's what I feel like we've done that the last couple of weeks. So, things didn't necessarily pan out really well, obviously, for us against Lingle, the very talented team. But it felt like we came back out the second half and we fought and we tried to turn some things around, and we did have some positives in that second half. The whole game was a battle with Saratoga, and we didn't give up. So, the whole game, it came right down to the very end. We didn't execute, and that happens. So, but the resiliency, I'm really proud of the boys and how resilient they've been the last 2 weeks.
Are you seeing your leaders kind of step up in a tough situation like this where you've dropped a couple conference games in a row?
Yeah. So part of it is, sometimes you'll have situations where there may be some infighting type of thing, finger pointing, right? Because that's the easy thing to do when things go bad. People start pointing fingers. Oh, well, it's this person, it's that person. No, we try to tell the kids, hey, it's a team effort. We're all in this together. We all have to work together if we want it to be better. So yeah, seeing them step up in a positive way has been huge.
What are you doing in terms of just trying to kind of right the ship from maybe an offensive productivity standpoint? I mean, you've seen a couple good defenses. You're going to see another good one coming up on Friday night. What are you doing on the offensive side of the ball to try and maybe execute against these good defenses a little bit better?
Yeah, I think right now one of the things that we've struggled with a little bit has been our passing game. And we relied on it so heavily last year, to have it struggle the way that it's been, especially the last 2 weeks. We saw glimpses against Lingle in the second half of where it should be and kind of how it had started to blossom a little bit last year. We had receivers running wide open. It felt like all game against Saratoga, and we just could not get them the ball. So we really kind of focused on that this week, making sure, just trying to execute better. Trying to get a little bit tighter coverage. It's tough to do. It's tough to replicate when you have 23 kids on the team, right? Because you know as well as I do that of those 23 kids, not all of them are ready for varsity experience, and they're young. So trying to replicate that as best we can in practice was kind of our mission this week.
What do you look at when you see Coach Burkart in the Cyclones? It's not Bullington across the way anymore, but Burkart's been there for a while as an assistant. But what are you seeing this year out of Shawn's team?
Once again, another tough team. Southeast, that's kind of, at least in our perspective, they're a tough-nosed team. And well coached. I mean, they've always been that way. So watching them on film, quarterback's very talented. Linemen, they've got some big kids and big aggressive kids playing on the line. So, it'll be a good matchup. It's a good squad. So, we'll have to have our game together if we want to have a chance.
Speaking of that, and I'm not asking for your game plan here, Chris, but what are a few key things that maybe you emphasize to your team in this one? Obviously we've talked a big one in offensive execution, but what else do you kind of really hammer home?
Defensive intensity. Our defense has played. I mean, obviously the Lingle game was rough, but to hold Saratoga like we did, the defense played extremely well last week, and we were very proud of that effort. So making sure that we come into this week with the same type of effort on defense, and we'll get the offense where it needs to be. But yeah, just playing with that same intensity, maybe trying to take it to both sides of the ball.
Chris, thanks so much again for a few minutes. I wish you best of luck at home Friday night and another big one.
All right, thanks, David.